Hello and welcome to my channel, and this video is about Prince Andrew, but it's not specifically about him, it's about the action that he did, and that was that he asked his protection officer to dish the dirt on Virginia Giuffre, and this is exactly what happened to us in our case. Now remember, I wasn't the victim, I was a witness. And the perpetrator got his solicitor to go around asking people about me on a fishing expedition, basically. And I know this because I'm getting more and more information as I do subject access requests, not as much as I'd like, they're hiding loads and loads, which I'll go on about in another video. But people contacted me and told me, decent people, contacted me and told me how disgusted they were that he was doing this. And also he sent friends requests to my friends on Facebook, so he was trying to get anybody on board that he possibly could get on board. And he didn't use a CPS barrister, he used his own legal team, and he used a QC that was known for getting this sort of people off. And this is just what Prince Andrew was doing, was going on a fishing expedition, asking people if they could basically dish the dirt on her. So he's had his titles relinquished because of the emails and everything that's come out now, but he hasn't actually lost them. So I think in my mind that he's so cocky and confident that he will think that this is all going to wash over and then he can come back and get these titles. So he's lost HRH, Duke of York, Earl of Inverness, Knight of the Garter. So there's a few that he's lost, but he hasn't actually got rid of them completely, because I think he'll come back. So the video is just a bit, obviously gone to watch it now. It's a bit about him first of all, but it's basically about this woman called Fiona, who was the key witness on the defence, and she said the most horrific things about me in court. I haven't even found them all out yet, and she said just outrageous things that we'd done. But when she came to sell her house, it all changed. Anyway, you'll see it at the end of the video, but the bit is about Prince Andrew and how these sort of people operate. And we just start off with how self-righteous and pompous he is. So she's saying to him, well, you stopped in the house of a convicted sex offender. And this, nobody would do it, would they? Well, nobody decent would do it. But this is his excuse.
I felt it was the honourable and right thing to do. And I admit fully that my judgment was probably coloured by my tendency to be too honourable, but that's just the way it is.
That answer, how she managed to keep a straight face, she deserves an Oscar, but it just proves he has no shame. And here's another incident with him, and it's the Duchess of Kent's funeral. And he doesn't just go into the background and think, oh, thank God I'm here. He stands at the front, and he stands next to the second most famous person on the planet. And he's not even happy with that. He has to make a conversation with him because he knows that this is going to get in the papers, and he's trying to make himself look good. But William obviously just didn't even want to know, and he's even laughing at a funeral. And this is in his interview where he's basically saying he wasn't friends with Epstein. As we know, that's not true, but it proves just how easily he can lie.
To some extent, a stretch to say that as it were, we were close friends. I mean, we were friends because of other people.
And he goes on to show how much he contradicts himself. So he says he wasn't good friends with him, but yet when pressed about the photograph, the famous photograph, he says, here's the thing, it couldn't have been Epstein because I've never seen him with a camera in his hand. Well, anybody can pick up a camera once, but if he's only met him 4 or so times that he says, and by his own admission he wasn't a good friend, how would he know if he wasn't a photographer or not? So you could say that about somebody, like I could say about my son. I could say, oh well, he never picks up a camera in his life, and I'd have some standing on that. It still doesn't cover the fact that he might do when I'm not there. But if you've only met somebody 4 times, you cannot turn around and say, oh well, they don't pick a camera up. So it just proves, as far as I'm concerned, another lie
that Virginia Roberts provided, taken by Epstein, we understand, in Ghislaine Maxwell's house.
Well, here's the problem. I've never seen Epstein with a camera in my life.
I think it was Virginia Roberts' camera. She said a little...
And we all have people that we've met that we've forgotten about. I've forgotten about people, and then suddenly you'll see them, say, on Facebook, and I've forgotten they even existed. And about a year ago, a friend of mine that I was very close friends with about 20 years ago posted me a photograph of us together and said, oh, do you remember this? I'd completely forgotten about it. So this happens. But he contradicts himself because he says, as a member of the royal family, you don't do these close pictures But the thing that he's doing is he's hedging his bets. So when she's asked, has this photograph been doctored, he won't say yes. And the reason being for this is because that photograph is a copy of a copy. So no expert can turn around and say whether it's fake or not unless they see the original. Now, he clearly doesn't know where the original is. So if the original suddenly turns up, and they find that it's not been doctored, he's covered his back because he never actually said it. But if he hadn't been in that photograph, surely he'd know and say, well, hang on a minute, that was doctored. Or I remember seeing her, or I do not put my arms around the waist of people. One, I just don't do it. Or two, because I'm a member of the royal family, so it could get taken out of context. But no, if you listen to him, he never actually says it. When she asks him whether the photograph has been doctored or not, he never says a firm yes.
So you think that photo has been faked?
Nobody can prove whether or not that photograph has been doctored, but I don't recollect that photograph ever being taken.
And you don't recollect having your hand
No.
round her waist
No.
in Ghislaine Maxwell's house on any occasion, even if it was a different
I'm terribly
date?
sorry, but if I, as a member of the royal family, and I have a photograph taken, and I take very, very few photographs, I am not one to, as it were, hug, and public displays of affection are not something that I do.
Again, he contradicts himself. So my photograph with my mate, we obviously took a lot. It was over a long period of time, so obviously photographs will get forgotten about. But he even says himself it's a very rare occasion for him to have a photograph taken. So why wouldn't he remember it? Fair enough, before he saw the photograph, not remembering it, but surely getting a photograph when you have so few, this would be triggered. I think this is the sickest part of the interview, because he knew officials had identified 36 girls, some as young as 14 years old, who Epstein had allegedly sexually abused. He pleaded guilty and was convicted in 2008 for procuring a child for prostitution and of soliciting a prostitute. He was convicted of only 2 of these crimes because there was a controversial plea deal. So he knew what had happened to these girls, and obviously he'd admitted that, so he's suspected of a lot more. So make your own judgment on that. And he's clearly made his own judgment that it was all right. So when Makeless asks him about this, it just proves the utter lack of empathy and selfishness of this man. I mean, the answer is absolutely sick. He doesn't turn around and say, oh, well, I didn't have anything to do with Epstein, and told him. I mean, he shouldn't have been there. Nobody in the right mind would have to think that they had to apologise to a paedophile. But he had to go across the Atlantic, apparently, this is his excuse, to apologise to this paedophile. But he doesn't turn around and say, well, I can't be friends with you because look at the devastation you've caused in those little girls' lives. It's all about him. He says, we can't be seen together. It's not right. Listen to him. It's all me, 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 me. And I think this is the sickest part of the interview.
Of saying to him that because he had been convicted, it was inappropriate for us to be seen together. I said to him, I said, look, because of what has happened, I don't think it is appropriate that we should remain in contact. And look how he just fobs off the plea bargain because it's of no interest to him. He goes, and he accepted a plea bargain, whatever it was, because he's if he can push away anything to do with those girls, he will do. So that's just nothing, whatever it was. A few little girls got sexually abused, but whatever it was. And then he goes on again to say about him and the pressure that's put on him, the scrutiny that's put on him. Not a mention about the fact that these girls have been sexually abused. He'd accepted whatever it was, a plea bargain. He'd served his time, and he was carrying on with his life. You see what I mean? And I said, yes, but I'm afraid to say that's as may be. But with all the attendant scrutiny on me, then I don't think it is a wise thing to do. He then goes on incredulously to say that he didn't regret the relationship with Epstein. I mean, how the stupidity of this man knows no bounds. But he then again says they weren't that close. Well, if you weren't that close, what the hell are you doing flying across the Atlantic? So none of this interview makes sense, and it just proves how these people can just lie and get away with it, but it always comes back to bite you. as it were, as close as you might think. We weren't that close.
So then she asked him after he was convicted, did he see him or speak to him again? And he replies, no, not after 2010.
After he was convicted,
Yes.
did you see him or speak to him again?
No, that was that. Funny enough, 2010 was it.
Now, we now know that this is a lie because court documents have surfaced from the 27th of February 2011. Now, if he's going to lie about this, you've got to sort of kind of think that maybe he's lied about other things. So the whole of the interview, as far as I'm concerned, I would look at it in a different light now. And so it was December 2010 when he was photographed in the park with Epstein. And this is when he said the last contact was. And that's why he said he went over. So he's not going to contact him again, is he? Really, if that's the truth, that he's flown all the way across the Atlantic to stop. Wouldn't be worth going, would it, if he was going to contact him again? But Epstein contacts him on the 27th of February. Now, it says it's a reply from the member of the British royal family. So it doesn't actually say Prince Andrew's name. But we can think that if he's now relinquished his titles because of this, it sort of has to be him, you know. The layperson is going to presume it's him, even though it hasn't been officially recognised as him. But Epstein messages him and he replies back, Jesse's coming on the 1st of March or next week. So he is in contact. And then he also sends this email, or from a member of the royal family sends this email, that's what it says on the email, keep in close touch and we'll play some more soon. Now, take that what you want. Two men that age, would you send a message saying we'll play some more soon? Very strange email as far as I'm concerned. So as I say, this video wasn't just about Prince Andrew, it's about the fact that he asked one of his protection officers to smear Virginia Giuffre. And also, this has been investigated now by the police, and police staff may have to face questions, and so they should do if they've been involved. But this happens all the time in child sexual abuse cases. The perpetrator will try and smear the victim, so they'll make them out like maybe they're promiscuous, that they lie all the time, there's false allegation that they were after money, anything to smear them, to turn the jury basically against them. And they have a free rein to do this, so they get, if they don't have the CPS solicitor, they pay for their own. So in our case, he paid for his own, a top QC that was known for getting these sort of people off. So they pay them, they can go around anybody and ask them. So they could go around all your ex-boyfriends, girlfriends, people you've fallen out with. They can go around anywhere and try and get the dirt dished on you. But it's nothing to do with the case. So for example, if you had a car crash, all the insurance companies on each side, and if it went to court, whose fault was it? That will be it. They won't go off on a fishing expedition and talk to somebody that you were married to 10 years ago, or somebody that you fell out with a business deal or anything like that. They do the case in hand. But it seems that there's a free range on child sexual abuse cases, that basically the victim and the key witness, which I wasn't the victim, I was the key witness, can just be completely abused, free range, and just anything can be said about them. And you're not there to defend yourself. At least I wasn't, because DC Lowe's had said to me that I couldn't go to that court. Now I've later found out this is an utter lie, and I should have been there, because it was a free rein to say anything they wanted about me and I couldn't defend it. And this is what this Fiona did. Now, she was in a relationship with the perpetrator, and not now, because obviously he'd used her for what he wanted, and she would say anything about me whatsoever, which is precisely what happened, and I wasn't there to defend myself. So they wanted to say that I lived in this static caravan, and the reason for that was because it was against the planning permission. So they try and make you out, so it doesn't make any difference, nobody's really bothered about that, but in the court of law it's to smear your name, or she doesn't do what the council says. So they got the council involved and everything. So I wasn't living in this caravan, but I had to look after horses, so I was there early morning and night, and things like I was breeding horses. So I even had the vet say, yeah, she has to stop over some night for the foals when they've been born. This was all, but I had professional witnesses and everything, but that never ended up going to the court. So it's irrelevant to the case whether I stop in a caravan or not, but this is how these child sexual abuse cases work. So as you can see on here, I'll show you the first bit where she says that I am categorically, in her opinion, stopping in this caravan, and she is actually stalking me and hiding in the hedgerow photographing me. So this went to court as a way of smearing me, but as I say, I wasn't there to defend myself. And she puts a generator was deployed day and night. It wasn't, but that's irrelevant because the fact is she's making out in this statement that I have been stopping in this caravan. It goes on, and then she even films my car, and it's snowing. And even though this picture is really, really bad, you can see 2 tracks, one where we've come down early in the morning and one where we've left. But she doesn't say that anything about that bit, and neither does the council or the police. That's just accepted that we've been stopping down there. But I'm not there to defend myself and go, hang on a minute, there's 2 tracks. But this woman in snow, in the middle of the winter, in the dark, is hiding, taking photographs. Such is the power of a manipulator that they can get. He wasn't doing it, getting her to do it, and she would do this for him. And then here she says that her property had been damaged by persons unknown, but some of my personal stuff had been left at the scene. Well, who in the right mind would do that and leave something? But it's just absolute rubbish. But it's put in the mind of the jury that I'm a delinquent, but I'm not there to defend myself. She can even see there, she's been stalking my son, who was a child at the time, but she was watching at school. So I obviously contacted the police when I found this out, and it was a sergeant, and he was called Mark Hill, and in my opinion, he was the most utterly useless person. It was unbelievable, and I'll go further into about him as well. And he never did anything. There was no stalking, even though this woman was in a hedge photographing me and kids watching. She proved through the whole statement she was watching us the whole time, and nothing was done about that. So after the trial, somebody spoke to me and they said that the perpetrator had been laughing, basically, saying that Fiona had put the cherry on the cake of ruining it for any chance of any justice, and that it got away with it. Anyway, I did a subject access request, and the police have reluctantly, very reluctantly, given me some of the information, but hardly any of it, and it's so heavily redacted, but I've got some. But I haven't got all of it to challenge it, but the bits I have are just absolutely outrageous. But they're obviously hiding stuff from me. I can't get it from the court transcripts, I can't get anything, and this is a part of the reason why I'm exposing it, because what have they got to hide? So I can't challenge anything apart from what I've got. Anyway, it was quite funny because she was so into my business, and I don't know what else she was getting up to, but her husband ended up having an affair, and they ended up putting the house on the market, and I knew she'd lie. So I got a private detective, and I asked him to ask her specifically if she'd had any issues with me. Now remember, this is a woman that said that I've stolen stuff off her, that I've been stopping in a caravan that I shouldn't have been, and not only that, that my son has shot at her. I mean, we're talking serious allegations. It's not just a little bit of a neighbourhood dispute as far as she's put across. She's basically put, I'm the neighbour from hell. We are talking about firearms being included here, and this is what she says about me.
And then there's a lady that's been talking. She doesn't live here with the caravan that you probably passed as you came down the track.
Oh, that's one with the camouflage on the...
She's a horse breeder.
Yeah.
She lives out at Benton, but that's her place of work.
Oh, right, okay, fine.
Fixed as a detective.
So it'd be hilarious if it wasn't so serious. This is the key witness for the defence for a child sexual abuse case. Now remember, she's been in court saying that I'm the neighbour from hell, that I even blocked her in with my vehicle and wouldn't let her up the track, that I've been stealing property off her, and also that my son had even shot at her. We're talking firearms, we're talking serious allegations here. Yet she says that in a Crown Court, but when somebody comes to buy her house, she turns around, and this is what she said, you can hear it, but I'll do the transcript because obviously it's not a best recording. It says, she says, then there is a lady that breeds horses. She does not live here with the caravan. You obviously get to that point in a minute, that you probably passed as you came down the track. And the private investigator says, oh, the one with the camouflage on. So she goes, oh yeah, now it's obvious it's my place, and they're referring to them because the camouflage was put on because of her and her husband used to look through the whole time. And she goes, yeah, and the investigator goes on the gate. So Fiona says, yes, she's a horse breeder. And he says, oh yeah, okay, fine. And yeah. And she says, she lives at Bentham, but that's her place of work. And he goes, oh, okay. And Fiona goes, that's it, effectively. Not a mention of the firearm when it suits. Not a mention of the, allegations of stealing every single thing like this. And then she goes on to say this further on. Then goes on to ask about a shared track. And now there's been holy hell about this track, according to her, and that I don't pay anything. But in true Fiona style, when it comes to the agreement, it's all perfectly all right on here. And then he specifically asks, there's no problems or anything, and she answers no. Listen to this.
All the way around. It's the worst thing for on. So you've seen it at its absolute worst, basically.
Yeah, no problem. No, it's lovely. So, as I say, neighbours, everything's okay. There's no problems with any of the neighbours or anything like that. Fantastic. Brilliant. I've got this nice romantic idea of all your neighbours getting together and having a barbecue.
So I cut it there because she mentions some neighbours by name, and I'm not prepared, obviously, to put them on here because it's nothing to do with them. But he says about, you know, the romantic notion of barbecues together. And she's all like, yeah, not a mention that she's been to Bradford Crown Court about one of the most serious cases you can have, child sexual abuse, and said that the key witness is a liar and her son shot at them. No mention of that, because it feathers her nest, and this is exactly what they do. And this is why there shouldn't be character witnesses in child sexual abuse. There shouldn't be character witnesses in any cases, because they will lie to feather their own nest, and this completely proves this. So after the house sold, the private investigator went back and asked the owner, the new owner, had she disclosed anything on the legal documents to say there'd been any problems with the neighbours, and he said no. So she'd lied on there as well. And this was the key defence witness in a child sexual abuse case of a man charged with 9 counts of child sexual abuse. And this is how he got away with it, with people like this that were prepared to go to court and lie. And this has been sent to North Yorkshire Police. They have all the evidence of it, and they're not prepared to investigate it. In fact, they haven't even responded to me. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.